What's up, everybody? My name is Sean Malloy, and you're in the Alpha Zone Gaming Podcast for the week of November 12th, 2017. As always, I'm with my boys, the man from the Emerald Isle, Mr. Ronan Fox.
What's happening, guys?
What's up, man? And the pride of the Grand Canyon State, we got the nicknames back, Mr. Kent Kingsford.
Yes, indeed. I am the Cactus Man.
Oh, man. Whenever there's like a fourth person on the show, it throws off my intros. I'm like, okay, I have to remember everything. Boys, we're back after a week. We're gaining steam. We're getting on the regular schedule again, so people can get used to seeing our faces all on the internet some more. With every show, we start off the same way with what we're playing. Ronan, you've taken a deep dive into one of my great gaming passions right now. Tell me your impressions of Assassin's Creed Origins.
So you chatted about this game on the last show, and it just felt like the same conversation that I hear every time Assassin's Creed is mentioned, and that's, oh, it's way better this year. I swear it'll be blown away. And I was going to go and play it, and it wasn't going to be that. But I have to say, I went around to one of my friends' house, shout out to Niall, and he's got an Xbox One, and he threw it on, and it was just, I don't want to spoil too much, but after the opening scene, there's this magical moment where you're in the desert and you are on a camel. And for me, just looking around that desert, it was like the way, was it Uncharted 4 when you get caught in the desert and you're pushing through?
Uncharted 3.
Uncharted 3, okay. So it felt like that, but it was open world. The world was alive, and I was like, yes, this is good. And I didn't even do any sort of combat. I just was traveling through, and it just felt very realistic. The setting was just top class, and I was blown away. We'll dive a little bit deeper, but I want to just bring it back to you and and ask you, are you surprised that I like that game?
I am kind of surprised. I'm actually, what's weirder, I'm surprised that anyone is liking Assassin's Creed Origins so much, because it seems like the franchise was such on this weird, and not like a dive bomb, but on this like negative thread where it's like, can they really change enough in 2 years to like flip the formula around and get like fans back to the franchise? And then the sales numbers came out, and within the first two weeks of release, it's selling about twice as much as Syndicate did, which was the last Assassin's Creed game. So I'm glad people are really like evangelizing Assassin's Creed Origins, because yeah, if you listen to the show last week, I'm just over the moon in love with this game. Yeah, I'll talk about it more when we flip to my,
yeah. So I want to just go back to the things that I like about the game. The star of the show for me is the setting. I think it's so unbelievably imagined, and like walking through these old ruins and the sand is just rushing through your feet. It's just, the setting for me is, I've never felt like I have ever been in a setting like that in a game before.
Ever. That's really cool.
Not just that it's Egypt, but they have just done it so well. And what I like about it is the Black Flag team are on this one. And it really does show. An experiment that I did last week, and I sent you guys the picture, was I went back and played Black Flag because rent was due last week, didn't have enough money to get Origins, and went back to Black Flag. And by playing Black Flag, it has shown me more of how Origins is twice what that game is.
Yeah.
The combat, let's go to the combat. The combat is just the biggest it's the biggest step forward in that game.
So wait, before you continue, your friend, how was he playing the combat? Was it the triggers, or was he playing face buttons?
So the way, when I got the controller, when I had my first bit of combat, it was clicking the L stick to lock on, exactly like Dark Souls. R1 for light attack, exactly.
Okay, so
like
he's using he's using the new setup, because like right in the beginning you have the options to go to like classic controls, and that flips everything to the face buttons again. But when it comes to like winding up, like if you're coming across enemies with like bigger shields, you have to wind up your stronger attack to break the shield. And having that on R2, so you're holding it, you release it, then you hit. I think it's like this really good feeling. And at the beginning, I wasn't sure about it because I've never had to like hit anything with
Well, I
triggers
know you've
before.
played Bloodborne before. You do the exact same thing in Bloodborne. You hold
I
the
don't
button
remember that
down.
game, Ronan. I blocked that out of my memory. I'm like, I don't remember that game.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but the combat in Assassin's Creed Origins is very, very
If you get
similar
good
to.
at AC Origins combat, I kind of want to do a let's play with Sean and
Oh,
make him
man.
go back and play some Bloodborne.
All of a sudden, it's going to be like Rain Man. I'm like, oh my God, he gets it. I'm like, I got this, guys. Don't worry about it.
So another thing that I like about the game that pushes it forward from the last couple is I actually really like the RPG elements that they brought into this game. I like the fact that you can look totally different from the start of the game to the end of the game.
Yeah.
I like the way you can change up your weaponry. I mean, your weaponry has come into a very tactical side of it, where you can have a long spear, if you want to keep your distance, or if you need something a little bit quicker, you've got every sort of sword, short swords, long swords, and
Sickles, yeah.
sickles. Yeah, there's a beautiful amount of variation with the weaponry and the armor. Using the bow is very, very
Feels
good.
good.
It's very tight. Again, it's easy to bring out. L2
Even
brings
the
it out.
Yeah,
And
even the bow variants are like they switch up because right now my bows, I have a quick bow, which if people who haven't played it, you you see Bayek, the main character, he holds 6 arrows in his hands, and you can just like rapid fire them one after another. The other bow
That's
I
pretty
have
crazy.
is a hunter bow, so it's like when you pull that up, it pulls out like a sniper reticle, so you're
yeah,
looking at it
first
and
person.
you first person, and you hold R2 and you can actually guide the arrow like as it's flying, which is pretty cool. And so like once you start getting like upwards with like legendary weapons, they each have like certain traits that they do. So my hunter bow, like it automatically when it shoots fires on it, so you don't have to worry about dipping the bow in a flame and then to shoot to
Yeah.
do like a fire arrow, so you already have it ready, which is, man, it is just the best.
So my first experience with this game, one that I wanted to test out, the open world and see how organic it was. When you go into the first town after the desert, you can either decide to go and start the main mission, or you can just basically go around that area.
Yeah,
And I decided, because there was water there, I seen a ship off in the distance, and I took a small boat, I sailed out, and I jumped into the water because I wanted to sneak up on the boat, on the ship. It had a captain that needed to. It popped up like assassinate the captain. So organically, it gave me something to do, even though it was just something that I did out of the blue. And I jumped in the water, and I was swimming over to the boat, and a crocodile grabbed my leg, and I shit you not, it scared the living daylights out of me.
Well, it's like when you're swimming, all of a sudden you hear that it's like this sound, and you're looking around, you're like, oh shit, like something's around. And mine was the same way, but a hippo got me from below. Like I didn't
The
see it.
hippos are badass in this
So
game.
when I panned 360 degrees, I didn't pan up and down. And so I was like, oh, I'm good. And all of a sudden I got killed by a hippo, pulled me straight down. And I'm like,
So
oh,
that's a
God.
really good thing to bring up, because the wildlife in this game are a huge aspect.
Yep.
And it is the one reason why I feel the world just feels so alive all the time.
Yeah.
Even though it's in the desert, and it shouldn't really feel alive. There's just so much happening. There's birds flying. You've got one of the stars of the show, your eagle, is just ridiculous.
Yeah, Sanu is tight.
Yeah, unbelievable.
As somebody who lives in the desert is full of mean fucking animals everywhere.
Yeah, like with Origins, it's crazy because like every different like province or area you discover, it's brand new wildlife. Like you don't come across hippos in the desert or something like weird like that. It's like the desert is populated by camels and like certain birds and like cobras most of all. And what's weird is like my character is like maxed out now. I hit max level, and I was just like raiding tombs, like going around because, spoiler guys, I was going to announce this officially on the show, but I'm going for the platinum in AC Origins, which is like,
you are.
Oh dude, it's
Gotta
so
get
good.
that money in.
I'm platinum, yeah.
What are you gonna do with your $1 reward?
I'm gonna wait till it builds up to $10 and get a PlayStation credit.
Nice.
And then buy Bloodborne with it. But it's like it's doing like going across the map and feeling this out, and it's just like raiding tombs. It's like I'm max character, but it's real because I'm max character, but a cobra will rear its head and bite you, and it hits you, and like it initially takes off like a point of damage. But the longer and longer you're fighting without like getting out of that tomb, the poison will actually start to take over, and so it slowly like cuts off your health, which is just
And you can
everything
actually
that.
see the wildlife hunting other wildlife.
Yes, yeah,
It's phenomenal. In the distance, you could be hunting like that a cobra, and you could actually see him, chase down a gazelle,
yeah,
or
yeah,
it's very, very. Just moments like that blew me away when I was playing that game. A couple of gripes that I heard people talking about. Sean, you might be able to help
yep,
me out with this one, but they got a little bit of upset because it's not essentially open world at the start. Sorry, when I say that, I mean the whole
mm-hmm.
world isn't open right from the get go because
Right,
there's this level gap. But you said there's something that's really interesting. The fact that it changes from area to area, it
yeah.
almost makes you want to discover. Exploration in this game is one of the top parts of the game as well. You want to find out what's over that hill or what's in
Yep.
that tomb, or um, does it does it lend itself well to the game, the fact that it's just not open from the get-go?
So yeah, so like that, so it is open from the get-go when it comes to just like exploring. You can take off in any direction. The problem is like when you get to different areas, if you pull out the map, you'll see it's like normal enemies have this level and wildlife will have this level. So there's two distinct levels where it's like you should be about this to go forward. You can go into those, but you'll get in there, and if you get engaged in any sort of combat or a thief will find you, it's just game over. So the game does a good job of like leaving you a breadcrumb trail to get to certain provinces and make sure you're at that level, which then it comes to the idea of grinding. Like, I don't think it's grinding because it gives you enough side quests to do before you go into that next area. So yeah,
So
it's
here's
great.
a bold statement
Yeah.
from myself. Horizon, I had problems with Horizon that weren't anything to do with the game. They were to do with just oversaturation
Yeah.
of open world games in that time. Um, this game is top runner for a game of the year for me, and I think only scratched the surface. But what I've seen so far, it's one of those games where I'm always thinking about, and when I'm
Yep.
not playing, I want to go and discover this area. I want to see what the pyramids are like when I get there. It's a game that exploration is key, and I think Ubisoft have really done something special with this one. They didn't even need to do anything special. I mean, I played Black Flag. I had no interest in Unity, and I had no interest in Syndicate. They just didn't grab me. Nothing about the setting grabbed me, even though I'm in Ireland. Like, London is a stone throw away, and I should be interested. But the gameplay for me, it was just too animation heavy.
It feels
It did
small too.
exactly, and I didn't feel
Yeah.
when you play Black Flag, there's not a lot of skill involved with the combat. It's more timing, and you press one button and you might do five things. But in
Yeah.
this game, you're very much in one with the assassin, and there's so much variety there in a world that is just beautiful. And yeah, for me, it's my number one runner for game of the year so far, and we still got a couple of beasts to come out, but I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, I want to touch on a couple things before we move to Kent and talking about a couple of shooters. So my first thing when we bring up game of the year, and game of the year we'll do it probably after Thanksgiving. So we have like a couple weeks before we tackle like game of the year discussion. So for me, my mindset is in two ways. Two games have grabbed me by like pulled me into their world. One was Horizon Zero Dawn and one was Assassin's Creed, and they both were doing the same thing. They're existing in a world that I want to be in. The only difference between the two is that they're both varied and incredible to explore. And Rona, we hit on some of the points where it comes to the wildlife and the world feeling real. But the difference is, I just like Horizon's combat just that little bit more. So that's why if I had to give like a nod to game of the year right now, I'd probably go for Horizon. But both games I'm playing the exact same way. I want to go to every region and see everything that game has to offer. And after I'm done with AC, I'm going to go into the Frozen Wilds, the DLC for Horizon.
yeah.
And if people have been listening to the show for a long time, they know my like disdain for the Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Right? It's like it's no shocker. But Andrea
Literally
Renee
your trademark.
yeah, no, doesn't like Zelda. So Andrea Renee from What's Good Games and Kind of Funny Games Daily. She was on the show. I think it was Wednesday with Greg Miller from Kind of Funny, and she made the comparison of AC Origins is doing the world better than Zelda, and she got some kickback for this, but I would argue on her behalf, it feels more fleshed out and more alive, and you're not giving like these gigantic areas of nothingness. There's always something going on. And also, like, one mechanic that no one's talking about in AC that everyone was talking about in Zelda was this ability to climb anything. In Zelda, it was just like, it was dumb. You saw a wall, you could climb it. I'm like, I don't need to climb it. It doesn't make sense to climb it. AC, what they've done, if they switched up the formula enough, where if you see rocks and bluffs and stuff, you can actually crawl up the face and it actually makes sense. So it's not like it's not hand holding you like on the side of a building, like, oh, there's like 4 bricks. Of course, I'm gonna be able to climb up that. I see this mountain or this cliff of like, I'm naturally going to be able to like put footholds in rocks and climb up that way.
That's a very good point, Sean.
Yep. I think it's just the world's outdoing Zelda. And so yeah, that's all I'm going to touch on that. But AC masterclass, and I can't like you said it, Ronan, like I'm thinking about it all the time. I'm like, okay, how many more little like undiscovered things do I have to go find out before like I hit this trophy, or what's going to be in this tomb? And I'm going after like the master armor set on this one, like every AC has. This one is like, it makes you look like the god Anubis, and so I saw a screenshot. I'm like, I need that shit. Like I need it.
A brilliant thing that it did for me, just for people that are watching that may have a couple of questions, is the Animus. Is that the name of the thing you go back to modern day? So what happened with me, I don't like that aspect of AC. I think it's very intelligent from Ubisoft to have that in their games so they can just touch on any moment in time. It's intelligent game design, but it's never interested me. I don't care what goes on in the modern time. But I flicked to that for, I think it was 2 seconds, and I was like, I don't want to be in this. Do I have to play this? And I just went over to the machine and I jumped straight back into Egypt without having to discover anything. So I don't know whether later in the game you're forced to maybe discover what's going on there, but at that moment in time, I could just jump back into Egypt, and that was, it was brilliant for me.
Yeah, without any spoilers of what's going on, I think my game clock on AC right now is like 33 hours. And I want to say of those 33 hours, I've probably spent 25 minutes in the present day. And what they've done, they've dwindled it down so much where you kind of get the Abstergo end of it. But you're playing a character named Layla who's like in the Animus. This is like no spoiler. It's been in the advertising campaign. And it's all about her and her partner's relationship and how they're trying to take down Abstergo. But nothing happens. It's like, it's all through emails that you can check out if you want, or you just go right back into the Animus. And
that's
the
brilliant.
other thing, the other thing that historical settings of Assassin's Creed have done is like they force it down your throat as you're in like the historical setting. And the only time this exists is if you're like raiding a tomb and you see some scrolls on the walls, or there's another like a discoverable aspect to that tomb, then you can like reach out and look for it. But they're not putting it down your throat. It's like, in essence, you can spend the entire time in ancient Egypt, which is fucking awesome.
Phenomenal.
So, speaking of historical context, Kent, you just finished up Call of Duty World War II. I've also played Call of Duty World War II. What are your opinions of Sledgehammer's latest entry into the franchise?
So I just for sake of context, I beat the campaign.
Yep.
I put about 20 hours into the online, both on my machine and on somebody else's machine. The campaign is as good as a campaign as it has ever been for Call of Duty. Like, I will give them that. The problem I got is it almost feels like it's getting back to the point of where they were Modern Warfare 1, Modern Warfare 2 with the quality of the campaign. And I know that's what everybody seems to want, but I feel like, you know, almost 10 years later, like, I don't think it's an issue of people not being able to do better. I think it's an issue of people not doing better. But that's just my opinion. I thought the campaign was pretty good though.
Can I ask you?
I just felt like it wasn't. It didn't live up to the hype, right? It was like, well, we're gonna do big things with this, and
right there,
just okay.
Yeah, right there. I want to stop you for a second because the game was advertised as this Band of Brothers like storytelling like campaign. Like, we're not doing these big historical World War II moments. We're telling an intimate story of like 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah.
And then what I didn't understand is like, okay, you're advertising it as the story of Band of Brothers, and you're not going to do your normal things like Call of Duty things. And it's like, bam, D-Day Beach, check. Battle of the Bulge, check. Like German, like occupied Germany, check. And I'm like, wait, no, you said you're going to do something different. Like, why is this all the same? And I didn't understand.
Exactly.
Like, I was like, what the hell is happening?
So,
It's like, no,
so
this is super pretty. Yeah,
so the
yeah,
moments that are really good, and I want to do this without spoiling it, but I do want to give nods where I think they did the right thing. So
yep,
the dynamic between the main character and his brother, I
yep,
think, and again, I'm trying to do this without spoilers, so if I'm vague, that's on purpose.
sure,
From start to finish, that dynamic and how that plays out, and where you think that's going and where that ends up going, kind of what the internal monologue is between him and what he's got to prove to his brother, I think is very interesting. That's a shining moment in that. I
mm-hmm.
think the dynamic between him and his closest buddy in his squad, I think that when you kind of go towards the end of the game into kind of deeper into that relationship with him and what he's willing to give up to help that guy,
Yeah,
I think that is a shining moment. But the rest of it, you're right. It's a checklist, and it's kind of upsetting to play a checklist like that. And no matter how well it's executed, it feels like the same thing over again. It looks amazing in a way that
yeah,
Call of Duty hasn't looked amazing
oh
in a
my God.
long, long time.
Yeah, there's certain
Um,
moments of like in that campaign where I just like had to step back and just like take a 300, like
mhm.
just pan around. Like, dude, this is freaking nuts.
Beautiful.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And I think that there's other aspects of it that I really like where the gameplay has tightened up. I think simplifying down the gameplay did it some favors. All this extra BS that
Yeah,
and I'm a person who loves Titanfall, and
yep.
somewhere between Call of Duty and Titanfall, the mark has been missed, and so stepping away from that I think was a smart decision. But then I jump into the online, and it's the same old story. It just doesn't do a whole lot for me. Quick scoping is already rampant, like
Oh,
rampant,
I know.
right off the bat. I still feel like spawns are really cheap. I still feel like kills are really cheap.
Yeah,
Um, I play. If you follow the show, I play a lot of Destiny. Destiny and Call of Duty both have peer-to-peer client servers, right?
yep.
So they rely on the players to create the world that you're playing in.
Mm-hmm.
Destiny relies on these people to create these bubbles where a bunch of people are, and there's a lot of shit going on. And
Mm-hmm.
all Call of Duty's asking is a very small level with 12 people
Mm-hmm.
essentially for a deathmatch, and the lag is atrocious. The lag is just atrocious. That game borders on broken for the online. The community space, I think, is an attempt to feel like something like Destiny's doing. Completely unnecessary. I don't want that. I
Agreed.
don't need that. I
I
just
like
need a
when
menu.
when you
Put the stuff
create.
in a fucking menu
Oh,
and
dude,
stop
like
making me walk around to do
when
it.
when you create your character and it's like sign up for a unit. I'm like, what? And I'm just like, oh,
Good idea, right? Like I like the
okay,
general idea of here's your unit.
right.
This is what they specialize in. You get special abilities. I liked that. But what I don't like is I have to physically walk over to a guy. Man, fuck that. Put it in a menu. I'll click
Yeah,
down to it. I'll pull it up. I'll change it. Like, let's stop pretending like you guys
Is
have
it
this
third
large
person?
MMO world.
yeah. No,
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
third
third person.
person. It's literally like the tower in Destiny. They put the tower in
Yeah,
Destiny in
and
Call
they
of
put
Duty
it in World
World
War
War
II.
II.
That's horrible, guys.
It's weird, man.
Yeah,
I don't
and
like
so
it.
it's just a weird amalgamation of like some really great hits, like some
Oh,
highs,
of
great
course.
stuff that I talked about that are highs. The visual fidelity is a high. The lows are just the same. It's like it's like opening your lunch bag and finding a crumbled up McDonald's wrapper in there. You're just like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah,
So I'm impressed with it. I'm sure no one's surprised by that if you follow the show. I've been down on Call of Duty for years. I didn't go in with this thinking it was going to be the greatest thing ever. So take that for what you will, but that's my feelings on it. Now on the
my thing with,
complete
yeah, yeah.
opposite spectrum was Wolfenstein 2, which
Oh
I
wait,
played.
we can't hold on before you touch Wolfenstein. I just want to say, like, Call of Duty World War II, man, is like the perfect weekend like Redbox rental, where it's like $6
Yes.
over 2 days. Where I'm like, all right, I'm getting a
Yep.
campaign that's like 5 to 7 hours. I'll play that one day, knock it out, and the second day, like, I'll mess
Mm-hmm.
around with the multiplayer. And if it hooks you, perfect. Pay the extra money and get the game. But if not, you're sampling it. And for me, that's what I did. I was like, all right, so like a Redbox by my house, had it, rented it, played through the campaign, cool. Looked around, I'm like, of course I can pop some trophies. So went online, played multiplayer, got to level 10, 10 kills,
Get that money.
whatever. Like, yeah, get paid, Ronan, get paid with those bronzes. And then by the end of the weekend, I was like, oh, okay, cool, I'm done with this, and I sent it back, and this is the first year where like Call of Duty didn't get the hooks. Like even Infinite Warfare last year got a buy from me. I'm like, wait a minute, like how did this happen? But this one I stuck to my guns and I made sure it was going to be a rental, and it was, and it's the perfect experience for Call of Duty World War II. And I'm glad people are loving it, but That's just what it is for me. Now, can't talk Wolfenstein
Yeah.
2, the new Colossus.
So like Wolfenstein, I went direction, right? Like I came in overly positive, I think maybe a little too much, and I waffled a little bit at first. I Wolfenstein 2 has one issue. I have one issue with this game, and then I'll get into how much I fucking love everything about it. My one issue with this game is that they're very uneven in the way that they sort of set up stealth versus run and gun.
Yep.
And so sometimes stuff it'll rope a dope you. It'll show you stealth, and what the solution is really run and gun. And it'll show you run and gun, and what the solution really is stealth. And it's frustrating as a player because at first you don't know what the signs are to look for, because it seems like it's telling you have to stealth this, and you can't. You literally feel like you're taking the hardest approach, and you are. So for anyone who's going to pick up the game and play it at first, know that's coming. Give it 10, 15 hours into the campaign to kind of, figure that out. The campaign is meaty. It's big. It took me a while to finish.
Dude, the coolest thing about the campaign is the end game when it comes to the campaign. It's like you finish the story, and every area you visit, you can pick up an assassination contract, replay that level in a different way, and can have a completely different experience. So like when you're talking about run and gun versus stealth, it's like now you're doubling back and having to play it. I think it's cool, man. It's like, it's really good.
I really liked the assassination aspect of it. I thought that was really cool. And I think that's a lot for people that are history nerds. That's a lot closer to what the Christ House Circle and a lot of that stuff had to do with. I thought that was neat. But I just really, there are spots in that game where they jump the shark, and I don't want to spoil stuff, but they jump the shark really hard.
You're talking about that moment. We're thinking about the same moment, right?
Well, there's one that is the biggest shark I've ever seen any game jump. So I'm sure we're thinking about that moment.
Same thing.
But there's other places where they jump the shark pretty hard too. And it's a credit to them that the story sticks consistent and you're able to sort of suspend your disbelief. And I really love that story. I really loved the character Wyatt. To me, was more interesting than anything else going on in the game.
Who is Wyatt?
The kid that almost gets his ear cut off.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if this is spoilers because it's in the trailer, but Wyatt starts doing a lot of drugs to kind of cope with that. And Wyatt's reaction to the world around him is just so interesting, and how this guy's trying to figure out what he's going to do with his life, because he basically, I don't want to spoil anything, but he basically watches something horrific happen right in front of him, almost happens to him, comes back, and people are looking at him like, well, now you're in charge, Wyatt. And he just crumbles under the pressure. And I think games are so afraid to do that kind of stuff, tell those kind of stories, and I really enjoyed it. The characters are really fleshed out. The world is really fleshed out. It looks gorgeous. The gameplay, once you get a feel for it, it's everything I loved about and when I say the first one, I mean both the remake and the very first Wolfenstein, which I'm a huge fan of.
My God, it's just that game running at 60 FPS, man, is so sweet.
Oh yeah. And they're just general irreverence for the shitty players of history, I think. I really enjoyed too. Just so much good about that game. And I think but the unfortunate thing about that game is I'm going to recommend to people that it's worth buying. I think it's worth owning. But that game is also kind of a perfect red box rental.
Yep, that's how I did it too.
Just because of the nature of what it is.
Yep.
I would say this, if you play it on Redbox and you find you really like it, there's DLC coming. Everyone that's got to touch the DLC early has been really positive on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the way that they're approaching the DLC, where they're kind of looking at what else is going on in the US outside of BJ Blazkowicz, is really, really compelling and interesting. It just, by the time I was done with that game, I was happy with where it ended. It was sort of encapsulated for me. And so I stepped away from it. But I think that if you really feel like, enjoying it, I personally went out and bought it. I want to support machine games. I selfishly have a secret hope in the back of my brain that Ronan can appreciate, that they will let machine games remake Hexen.
Yes. Bring Hexen back.
Ronan's like, yes, let's do it.
Definitely.
Cool, yeah, I'm like super ecstatic that you're digging Wolfenstein 2, because I really dug it. But again, with me, single player campaigns, they're not going to last that long. So as much as like I was like dogging like these games as like as services and larger areas, but the games I'm playing is single player with like a large world, and ultimately like, man, I want to support, but $65 for like a one campaign is like a lot for me, and so that's how I'm kind of figuring it out. So it's cool. So we got thumbs up on AC Origins. People should play that. People should rent Call of Duty, but people
Definitely
should
rent that. Yeah.
buy Wolfenstein because support those and they're awesome. And once again, Zelda extremely overrated. So whatever. Suck it, Zelda. Boys, before we go on to the news, Ronan, you reached out to our community and asked for plugs, and we were inundated with awesome people wanting to plug us, and they love the show. So we're going to rattle a couple off right now. First of all, Guild of Nerds out of Dublin on Instagram. Follow them. They're an awesome company putting together some nerd culture in and around Dublin, Ireland. They're doing like promos, they're doing like get-togethers and let's plays, and they're doing a bunch of other really cool stuff. Another one, Instagram is Mostly Stickers. That's one word, Mostly Stickers. Look him up. He has links to his Etsy shop and doing really cool stuff with 8-bit art and like some different like character design. We might have more from him later on a different show. What other stuff can I plug right now? We'll save the rest. We'll do Guild of Nerds on Instagram and Mostly Stickers on Instagram right now. Check them out. They're fans of the show. We appreciate the love and support. And now let's go to the news. I'm going to get the bad news out right away. Telltale Games, the studio behind the episodic series based on like The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, Minecraft, Wolf Among Us, laid off this week 25% of its workforce. The company announced that they're going to do a restructuring, which will affect 90 employees. In a statement, Telltale said the decision to lay off the staff is, quote, it is designed to make the company more competitive as a developer and publisher of groundbreaking story-driven gaming experiences with an emphasis on high quality in the years ahead. Our industry has shifted in tremendous ways over the past few years, Telltale Games CEO Pete Hawley said in that statement. Also, quote, the realities of the environment we face moving forward demand we evolve, as well reorienting our organization with a focus on delivering fewer, better games with a smaller team. So, that's an end quote. Boys, let's pick this apart. I'm a huge advocate of Telltale Games, and I play almost everything they come out with minus Minecraft because it just doesn't click with me. This sucked. Like, for me, I'm like, man, that is a ton of the workforce being laid off. Kent, what was your initial reaction of Telltale Games shuttering 90 employees?
My first thought is I want to see what comes of this. So what's the next game?
Yeah.
But my initial thought is that this is kind of what happens when you're in a consumer-based business and you don't listen to what consumers want. How many games back have we heard people say Telltale needs to update their engine?
Fix the engine.
I'm getting to the point where I'm not going to buy their games anymore. And if you think this has nothing to do with people not picking up their games, you've lost it, because if people were buying their games, they wouldn't be firing people. That's the fact of the matter. And so that's why I want to wait and see what they do next. If their next game looks more like
Life is Strange.
I'm having brain fade here. Thank you. Life is Strange. If their next game looks more like Life is Strange than like Telltale's The Walking Dead 1, which is what everything's still looks learned their lesson, and this was a shift in a positive direction, and that, and it's unfortunate. I don't applaud anyone who's lost their job as someone who's recently gone through that many times in my life. But business is ultimately about the entity surviving. So if they make smart decisions, it could be a great thing. These people, could weather the storm and be a success story again, I think. But I personally, at this point, feel like it's a case of them kind of ignoring what the market told them and really chasing licenses instead of chasing improving their product.
Yeah, agreed. Ronan, what were your thoughts?
When I heard the news, obviously I was saddened, as always, when we hear news of people getting their jobs taken from them. But a couple of aspects popped into my mind. One of them is you have to look at the evolution of Telltale. I mean, this was an indie team that started with, I'd say, a handful of guys, and they were making games up to the point where The Walking Dead Season 1 came out, and they blew up at a massive rate. I think they went from maybe less than 10 members up
Mm-hmm.
to 200, and now it's plus that.
360, according to the last number before the layoffs. So almost 400 people.
Okay, so there was a massive increase in staff being employed with that company, and you can look at this two ways. You can look at, okay, maybe the sales are not there. For me, I think they're probably doing enough, because I mean, how much do them games take to make? They have the same engine every time they use it, every time they create a game. But
Mm-hmm.
what I think is going to come out of this, I think they've got more efficient in what they're doing. I mean, how many people do they actually need if they're not making an engine, if they're not creating their engine or pushing their engine on?
Yeah.
But maybe this is a case that they're trying to save just a little bit of money into the bank, and then we're going to see an evolution in the game engine. That's what I hope comes from Telltale. I think they've got enough license behind them that they, and enough money that they can push now for a new game engine. And I'll be back on the boat.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I wanted to bring up that I heard on different shows and I read. I want to bring up to you guys if these make sense. The first thing about the closure of Telltale I thought of was like, God, they have a contract with HBO, they have a contract with Warner Brothers, they have a contract with Gearbox. They have all these contracts that if any one of these like deals like fell through, that they're now losing a huge chunk of money. So like regarding like what they're actually publishing, they might not have the ability to publish like in that universe anymore. Therefore, a chunk of money is taken away. The next thing that like that's been factored in is that I've read the different sources. The rent in the Bay Area has gone up so much over the past like few years that these Telltale Games is operating out of Marin County, which is right across the Golden Gate Bridge from downtown San Francisco. That's more expensive than being in downtown. So that has to play a factor. And after the closure of Visceral Games, they admitted that they could not afford their 4-story building like in San Francisco anymore. And so
they're one of the most expensive studios in EA, which is pretty bonkers to think about.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to bring up is at Gamescom, they announced 2 new series, like Wolf Among Us Season 2 and The Walking Dead Season 3. So when you're thinking about these two, it's, okay, so now we're spreading our resources thin again. They just finished up Guardians of the Galaxy. It was probably one of their weakest ones to date. They're working on Batman right now, so that's the ongoing series that will carry them forward. And with Wolf 2 and Walking Dead, the final season is that still spread too thin? You're working on 3 franchises, and I hate to say it because Wolf Among Us is one of my favorite like things that Telltale Games has ever done. If they have to shutter 90 employees, I think Wolf Among Us Season 2 is more in jeopardy than Walking Dead the final season. So I hate that I hate that we might not get Wolf Among Us Season 2, but fingers crossed that that's still happening. So yeah.
So you guys think this is the end of Telltale, or see them going into maybe smaller games? Or
my thing is, I think they're going to do less games, which is good for them because no matter what, they're always juggling 2 games at one time. It's like, and right now they had Guardians, Batman, and Minecraft Season 2 all happening at once. And if you take that same amount of resources and you brought up the engine, take half of that dev team and make like improvements to your game. Make me want to feel something different. And now their model of they develop 1 episode of a game at a time, then work nonstop on the next episode. So every 6 weeks, you're turning over these games. And so they're literally making games on the fly, which is unheard of in the industry. So yeah, I don't think Telltale's dead, but I think the way they're doing their model has to change dramatically for them to survive.
I agree. Their business model and their product I think are the issue for me. But I think also there's maybe a larger issue at play here that you kind of touched upon. You know, this would not be the first tech industry to up and decide to pack their bags and leave the Bay Area.
Yep.
And I think the only thing really holding these people in the Bay Area is the games media happens to be there.
All of them.
You know, look, because we don't live there, but I think it would be good in general for the industry if some of these guys did what other tech industries do, which is go where the rent's cheap, go where the state wants you there, needs the jobs, gives you tax benefits. Fighting to stay in San Francisco is a waste of time. That city has made it very clear that if you're a business and you're going to be there, they're going to suck you dry.
Look what Gearbox Software and then id Studios, they did the same thing. They were developing in California, realized the rent was so expensive, and they both of them like relocated to Austin, Texas, and right outside of San Antonio. Yep. They found cheap rent, and now they're doing better than ever. And I think you're 100% right. I'm like, look outwards of San Francisco. And Sony is like their headquarters of Americas and outside of San Francisco, but they have studios in Oregon and San Diego, and so like they're spread out. So if one studio closes, they can just reallocate resources, which makes sense. But yeah, I'm sad, but I think Telltale really does need to shift them around again. And if any devs or anybody is listening, you can follow the Twitter hashtag right now of game industry jobs, and that's created a gigantic thread of everyone who's hiring within the industry. So good luck to everyone out there. Still sticking with this is a business heavy show. Next piece of business that we have, Kent, this is you're coming into play on this one, buddy. EA has bought Respawn. And a quote from IGN. Electronic Arts has bought developer Respawn Entertainment, who are known for the first two Titanfall games. Along with a deal that's worth up to $451 million, a new Titanfall game has been confirmed. My question to you, good sir, is this part of like this apology for like the botching of the Titanfall 2 release date being the week after Battlefield 1? Is it because now they also are working on the Star Wars license? Like, I have no idea how to read this one. I want to know your guys' takes on it.
Being EA means never having to say you're sorry to anybody, really. It's not your studios, not anybody. Yeah. Don't give a shit. That's EA's shtick. That's what they do. But I think this is not as bad as people are making it out to be. Here's the reality. EA is going to bear none of the responsibility for Titanfall 2's underperforming when it comes to having that conversation for two reasons. One, it's a bad negotiating tactic. Two, it's not their fault in their mind. The developer should have had it either ready for the earlier date or should have agreed to push it to a later date. Like, EA is basically gonna disown that. I guarantee you. I've seen this happen with other corporations before. Obviously not in the games industry, but this is the way that they will play it. They will play it cold-hearted. That being said, there is good news buried in here that people are not picking up, and that is that we are guaranteed a Titanfall 3.
Yep.
I mean, unless they cancel it.
Right.
And that Star Wars game is still coming. And I think that what people forget is that Respawn is an independent studio under contract to EA. Respawn has to make money. They have to make payroll. So my understanding was there was a Korean company. I might be wrong. There is a Southeast Asian company. We'll put it that way.
Korean asterisk might be any other company.
Yeah, could be mildly racist generalization. Sue me. But no, there was another company out of that area of the world where a lot of your larger MMOs and stuff are popular. Was looking to buy them. Was the rumor, and the reality is that these guys got bills to pay, and so I think for them to get bought up by EA was keeping things friendly. It's somebody they already have a working relationship with. They were ostensibly already working for EA. And so I think that was really to kind of deal with they had run out of money and they were looking for investors. And the only people that were really willing to pony up the dough were EA, who they were already dealing with, and this Korean company. Now, if the Korean company bought them, it becomes a conflict of interest with regards to doing their Star Wars game.
Yeah.
I think there's also, I think ironically, it might have been better for them if that company picked them up, but they're a mobile developer. And I apologize to everyone listening. I cannot remember specifically who they were because I could give a flying fuck about mobile developers, really. But, ask yourself this. Do you think EA's worse or do you think mobile developers are worse when it comes to microtransactions and that kind of grimy business practice? And you'll see that the rock and the hard place these guys are between. And so I don't think it's necessarily a terrible thing. Time will tell, though. RIP Visceral, RIP Mass Effect.
Yeah.
EA doesn't have the best track record, but I do think that ultimately this was to avoid the type of news we were just talking about, which is lots of people not having jobs.
Ronan, what's your thought about EA buying out Respawn Entertainment?
In my professional business opinion, which is not so professional, but I think EA are very much like Disney. They are on a quest to take over the gaming industry where in 50 years' time, there will be no other developer out there apart from EA.
Fucking Disney, man. Also, they're going after 20th Century Fox right now. I just forgot about that.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a case that they're buying up these franchises and IPs that are essentially going to make them money because that's all they care about at the end of the day. We can go into every other aspect that EA crops up every time we talk about them. There's the microtransactions. There is the slimy business that's going into their games at the moment with the multiplayer heightening abilities if you pay more. And these are $60 games. I think it's crazy that that EA are where they are for being so mean. But I mean they're doing it and they're still going forward and they're going to keep buying up these IPs until the waters run dry.
Yeah, I think yeah, I mean, I can't add very much to this conversation other than like my thought. Like, I know there's a master plan for EA, right? Like what they want to do. But in the past like 6 weeks, they've been like in the media like more often than any other like publisher. I want to know like what the master plan is. Like, okay, you effed up Mass Effect, but that's technically not EA's fault. That's the developer's fault. So now that franchise is pretty much like, maybe now I'm actually taking that back. 50, I don't know. 50, but anyway, Mass Effect's over.
Allocation of
That's
resources seems to be the common thread. Like, if
yeah,
we really
yeah,
want to
yeah.
get down to it, but that's
So
kind of a deep dive in itself.
But isn't 4 games enough for any franchise? Like let it
yeah,
go. They should have actually let it go at the third game.
man.
Kind of agree.
Yeah, I also agree. After
And it
playing
was a
Mass
different
Effect
developer
Andromeda,
for
I
Mass
agree.
Effect 4, so I don't know what they were expecting. It was
Especially after playing Andromeda, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
it
just
was
like,
put out to
oh,
fail.
no.
Put it that way.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
yeah,
yeah, so time will tell, but I just want to know what the master plan is. Like, I assume somewhere they have a gigantic cork board with like red yarn running everywhere. They're like, okay, man, we just got to get to this place. This is how we do it. I'm like, what's the thing in the middle that you're trying to reach? So I don't know about that one. Before we move on to our next news item, I'm doing the second plug of the show from our community. Paul Toner, the part-time owner of, or the part owner of 8-Bit. He also runs Buy and Play Games on Facebook. They deal with the buying and selling of used and new games and game hardware on Facebook. Look that up. Buy and Play. There's no and in Buy and Play. It's Buy and Play. So heads up for that one. Also a longtime listener of the show. On Instagram, she's Mrs. Period Ignis, Ignis period FFXV, Mrs. Ignis, Final Fantasy 15. She operates a massive Final Fantasy 15 community who needs to come and join us on an episode sometime. So here's your formal invitation to come join us on the show. Explain the hype around Final Fantasy 15. And why do you have
come into the Wolves Den because none of us get
Go
it.
in the Wolves Den, man.
I love
Just-
Final Fantasy 15.
Well, okay, you and her can talk
You
about it.
can
Ken and I will
fish.
just be like, Ken and I will be like, it's good. It's good. So anyway, full invite on her to her on getting on the show. She is also on YouTube. She runs the Final Fantasy 15 minute. I'm sure she's gearing up for the multiplayer expansion for Final Fantasy 15 coming in the first couple weeks of December. So
also probably gearing up for PSX, given there's supposedly some Final Fantasy 7 remake news.
Oh, there you go. That'd be cool. So she's awesome. So thanks for the love and support, Paul Toner and Mrs. Ignis FFXV. Follow them both, one on Facebook, one on Instagram. Our last news item for the day is one that kind of hits close to me because I understand this because having worked there for so long. But GameStop began a rental program. This is a quote from IGN. Quote, GameStop, the world's leading video game retail chain, is starting a rental program called the Power Pass. The service costs $60 a month, $60, sorry, for 6 months, and will allow gamers to rent any pre-owned game in the store, end quote. Now, I have a weird take on this because as being an ex-employee of GameStop. Oh, is there? So that's a quote I put. So
that's a short quote. So what it will do is allow you to rent any game in the store that's used. However, at the end of the 6 months, you can keep any of the game that you're rented for your $60.
Oh, okay.
You get to keep the last game in your possession. So it's a meta game, if you will, on getting the good game that's for rent. I'll let you work away, but I do have some interesting thoughts on this from a business perspective.
My thing with this one is having worked there, one employee benefit was if any pre-owned game had more than 2 copies, we can rent it and take it home and play it for as long as we can, then bring it back. The trick was if we only had one copy of a pre-owned game, no matter what it was, we could not rent it. The system would not allow it. So with this pre-owned game the Power Pass, what is that going to do for their pre-owned market? Let's say there's a used copy of FIFA 18 sitting on the shelf. They want to sell that to earn money. What happens when a customer looks up online, we have a copy of FIFA 18, they look it up, they go to the store, oh, sorry, it's been rented. They're taking out a chunk of their profit by allowing these games to be rented over and over again. I just don't understand like why that would happen. Is they want to make money. So are they making money with this, or I don't know. So this one's weird.
So if you think about it, and I'm of two minds on this, as I always am with complex issues.
Yeah.
If you think about it, they've already got the money for that game. Someone paid them $60. So the question becomes is it really going to work out well for them? I think this is supplanting advertising, if you want my honest opinion. You can spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on marketing to get people in the door, or you can let them take their pick of one of your games and rent whichever one they want, keep it forever long they want. I think it's actually pretty brilliant because the person that's really taking them out at the knees, the people that are really killing GameStop sales because they'll sell used and they'll sell new, is your red boxes and your GameFlies. People will rent the game from those guys and decide if they really want to buy it or not from GameStop.
I just hate GameStop.
And
I just hate GameStop. I just think like.
So Sean, is this coming to Europe?
Everyone hates the retailer they worked for.
No, but it's weird because like the only time I like bought stuff from GameStop was when I worked there, and like otherwise before that, like I just didn't buy from GameStop. I bought from, oh man, rest in peace, Blockbuster. But that's where I bought stuff. So like,
speaking of rentals,
yeah, no. Speaking of rentals, man. Ken, did you hear about anything? Is it coming to Europe or is it US only? Because the
US only at current.
What was weird is like the testing market was actually in Australia. Like they had 2 stores in Australia that started this, and then all of a sudden just popped. And I'm like, okay,
that's not that abnormal for a program like that because what you can't do is you can't test the product that in the US because everybody will tell everybody about it.
True. Ronan, is this something you'd be interested in? I mean, we had Shane Dunn talking about like in last week of Player One, and he's stressing the importance of like mom and pop shops and achieving like customers like satisfaction and quality. So where does this hit with you?
Well, as a personal experience and a consumer, I think this will be great, especially in Mullingar. Now, I don't know whether Shane would appreciate something like this coming into the town because there is absolutely nowhere to rent games in, I would say, even Ireland at this moment in time. The last video box we had, Extravision, was shut down about a year ago, and there has been nowhere in.
So just real quick to clarify, no red box, no GameFly in Ireland.
Okay.
No, definitely not.
Okay.
Interesting.
So I think for them to bring it to Europe, to bring it to my hometown, I think they would do an absolute bomb because you've got these kids that can't pay full price for these games, and then they usually end up going to the trade-in market. But now what you've got is you pay $60 or euro, and you could get, is it an unlimited amount that you can rent?
Yep.
Like if you imagine back when we used to rent games,
and you want it, you can get it.
So back when we used to rent games, it used to be rent a game for one night, have the best fun ever with it, and then bring it back, and that was
$5.
That was €5.
Yeah.
And then it pushed up on sales as it got towards the end of that market. But I think 60 quid for 6 months is a very good price, especially for, and I'll go back to the games that you mentioned, Wolfenstein 2, a single player game that can be done in a couple of days. Drop it back. Okay, what will I get next? I think it's a very, very smart move for them to make. In America, it's a little bit different because they do have the competition with Redbox, and competition can push, price drops and stuff like that, which could be good for the market. But I think if they bring it to Mullingar, personally, on a personal level, I would definitely subscribe to that because there's games out there that you don't want to make that full purchase because you're going to be done with them in 20 hours. I like to support developers, but it's not. It's just not viable for me as a money aspect to throw 70 quid on every new game that comes out. So for me, it would really be
and if you think about it, right, like I think you'll see a lot of people get if GameStop is smart, you'll see a lot of people get gift cards for a 6-month subscription at Christmas. And the best time to hand that out is Christmas, because for the next 6 months, all those hot holiday games are going to be going and used. People that got stuff they didn't like, people that wanted this game, but it wasn't what they expected. And when the sales suck, they're going to get an outflux of old product, hopefully.
Yeah.
So it makes sense logically for them to do it. It really does.
Totally. I still have friends that work at GameStop. I want to go up there and actually ask them what the hell the deal is with this.
Ask us there any plan of it.
Well, now the one thing that you mentioned was for employees, they couldn't take it if it's one copy.
Right.
When you're asking a person to pay you $60, you can't stipulate that anymore, in my opinion.
Sure.
They might try, but they'll get a lot of complaints. The program will suffer for it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I can't. Yeah. I have nothing to add to that. That's awesome. Do we want to do the one more plug, or you want the random question at the end first?
Yeah, plug it and then do the
plug
question.
It in the random. Yeah.
Okay, so technically, I think we already kind of plugged this. Shane Dunn, a guest of the show and a fan of the show. He runs Player One game stores in Mullingar. I put a heart next to his name. He's a super stud. He came on last week and actually crushed it with different takes on the industry than what we have.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate him coming on, and anybody listening in Ronan's hometown, Mullingar. Ronan, where was the other store he had? What was the location?
In Maynooth.
There you go. There you go. So check out one of those two stores, Player One. Give Shane a handshake and a conversation and tell him we sent you from the Alpha Zone Gaming Podcast. Now,
also, if you're a retro person, he sells on the internet. Check it out. There's definitely going to be some really cool import stuff you can get your hands on in Ireland that is not available in the U.S. So if you're a retro nerd like I am, definitely worth taking a look at somebody who's got a source outside of the borders of the United States.
And I was in the store the other day, and compared to GameStop, it is a store that you walk into. The guys there came straight over to me with a conversation. One guy liked Dark Souls, one guy didn't, and it was just perfect. It was a real nice experience, which you don't get in GameStop. GameStop, you walk in, it's very business-minded.
Corporate.
The guy behind the counter won't look at you. So Player One, I want to see that.
It really depends on the location, because the GameStop by me, the people are pretty cool. Although I have to say they don't like seeing me coming, because I usually get them pretty bad.
I'm just being biased because I like Shane and I like his store.
Yeah, dude. No, there's a corporate policy. It's you can only talk about, lifting the cover of GameStop, but fuck that company. They did me dirty.
Sean has his list.
Oh, dude.
Everyone hates the retailer they work for.
Well, it's GameStop is especially slimy. It's you're only allowed or supposed to talk to any customer for 60 seconds, because after that you're losing dollars. And there's an entire handbook of how to handle this stuff, especially during the holidays. It's super slimy, and I do not like them. Anyway,
good stores ignore those rules, though. I will say that.
Yeah. I ignored it because I didn't care, and I'd rather have conversations with people anyway. Last thing before we close out the show with an announcement. And this week's random question, I want to use this as getting to know us better. We're picking up steam. Some people maybe didn't listen to the first iteration of Alpha Zone, where we did confessionals and stuff after the end of every show when we didn't know what we were doing. So now I'm asking the fellas, what's one skill or hobby that you have that no one really knows about, that you're kind of embarrassed of? And I'll go first. I can crochet blankets.
Not embarrassed of.
Not ashamed of it. I can just put together a blanket, some chains, and easy Christmas presents. And I thought of this. I was at a friend's house last night, and she's like, "Oh, I still have that blanket you made me." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I forgot I could do that." So there's an insight to me. You need a blanket. Let me know. I got you. I don't know about that.
Alpha Zone trademark blankets coming up.
Oh yeah. What is it? Copyright patent pending. Don't steal my idea.
Can't you take the next one?
Oh man, I think everybody knows I like guns and I know how to work on those, so I don't think that's a big secret. I don't know that I have a whole lot of skills or hobbies that I'm ashamed of. I will lift the veil on a little bit of my sordid history. For a very brief period of time in my life, I thought I wanted to be a professional wakeboarder or a wake skater. If you don't know what that is, Google it. But I was an amateur wake skater. I was sponsored. I have my own business, of course, because that's how I roll.
Yeah.
Making stationary towing devices for wakeboarding and wake skating, so you can put it in hit your truck and put it on a wakeboard.
Cool.
And I made dick for money, and
Yeah.
I went out of business, and I still owe people money from that I am slowly paying off. But it was a fantastic experience. Got to meet some really great people. Got to couch surf around the country and wake skate in a whole lot of parts of the U.S. that people would never think you could even ride at. So that was kind of neat. If you follow me on Facebook, there are some pictures lurking in there of me wakeboarding.
Cool, man. Ronan, what about you?
So everyone knows that I'm big into my music, and I like doing a little bit of production every so often. And a lot of people know me for my dance music side of things, very fast trance music. But one of my favorite aspects that in music that I like doing that I don't really share to a lot of the world, but here we go, is I like to write songs, mostly love songs, and play some guitar.
Cool.
So that's the embarrassing one for me.
It's how he got Tracy. He just played her a song. Like, oh, Mr. Fox, I'm going to have your children one day. So heads up on that. With that, so I'm a crocheter. Kent's a retired wake skater. Ronan is a romantic at heart with guitars and music. No, that's no problem. I also like write poetry and like short stories based on like romance. So I'm with you, man. Before we close it out, we've got one major announcement. We have just agreed with Phil from Zestrin. What is it? Zestrin Gaming on YouTube. I wrote this down wrong.
Yeah, so Zestrin is his username on YouTube.
Zestrin is his username on YouTube. Look that up. We have agreed in, well, it's not really terms because he's doing it just a part of the team. We needed a YouTube collaborator.
He's a nice fella.
Nice fella. He's a good guy.
He gives a shit about what he does. Yeah. So we were naturally drawn to him.
We're naturally drawn to him. We do this in our spare time. We don't get paid for it yet. But Phil runs Zestrin on YouTube, and we hired him to cross collaborate, put some YouTube videos on. He's really good when it specifies to like breaking news within the gaming industry. Specifically, he's really big into like JRPGs. Final Kingdom Hearts is his jam. So with Kingdom Hearts 3,
if you're a Kingdom Hearts person and you've not heard of this guy, definitely check him out.
Yeah, look him up.
He will deep dive on some really unique stuff.
Yeah.
Definitely keep you abreast of what's happening in that world, which is like waiting on pins and needles for a game that may or may not be coming.
Oh man, but
sorry.
Yeah, his YouTube stuff is great. He mentioned he does Let's Plays, so I'm not guaranteeing that, but at the very least, check out Zestrin Gaming on YouTube. Give him a shout. He hopefully will be able to make the next show, and we can give an official introduction and bring him in and see what he's about and introduce him to the fan base. So Phil, welcome aboard, man. Welcome to the party, pal.
Welcome to the Alpha Zone.
That's a diehard quote. So I was watching that movie this morning, and it's awesome. Anyway, boys, we reached the end of the episode for November 12th, 2017. Ronan, plug away at what you want to plug away, and then we'll get out of here.
So just everything is the Alpha Zone Gaming. And what I want you to do, we didn't shout it out before, but we have a Facebook group and our brand is up there. So, so add us on Facebook now. It is very small, but like everything, we will grow. The Instagram, same, and the Twitter is the exact same as well. All the same brand. And if you want to catch me on the PlayStation, it is, and here we go once again, Tupac. RIP 07.
So funny. It's so funny.
A lot of my friends call me Tupacrip 07. So if you want to go with that, then work away. Shuhei, please. I know we're singing this and we're banging this door.
PSX 2017. Change those names.
Change the names, dude.
So, and thanks for everyone for checking in and with the support the last 6 months. It's been absolutely mind blowing. The messages that I'm getting and everything in between. It's been a real good ride the last 6 months, and I couldn't do it without these two guys here. So we'll continue to bring you some, content, talk about games, and me and Kent will probably be streaming Destiny for the next 40 years as well. So we'll catch you then.
At least the next 40
plug
minutes.
Away. Yeah, next 40 minutes.
I have a stupid name, but I am not in any way ashamed of it. I am Squirp, SQU, 1RP on everything.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't like guns, if you're triggered, pun intended, by guns,
Yo.
do not look at my Instagram. If you want to add me on PlayStation Network, Xbox One, Switch, whatever, let me know you're not a bot. Let me know where I know you from. Let me know if I don't know you, where you heard of me from, because one
cut
I
out.
had with bots, because I
the cutting
through the
out
whole
was funny.
show. I made it through the whole
I know,
show,
it's
and I
right,
finally cut out.
right there. No, you got
And
it.
it was during the bots
Okay.
part. I love that.
It was the
part.
bots part.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I should post the
Yeah.
pictures of some of the shit I say to bots, because I don't think people understand how mean I am to bots. But
no, you have
John,
an
go
8-inch
ahead and
robot
take
dick.
it.
Anyway, again, I want to reiterate, we've now branded everything across all social media platforms, so it actually like makes sense when people are searching us. Facebook group is new. New people are joining every day. Ronan's been taking care of that, and we had like an admin fiasco, so Ronan dealt with it. Thanks, Ronan, for sorting that shit out. For me, if anyone
Don't forget
wants to
iTunes as well. Sorry, I forgot that.
Oh yeah, we got to plug. Yeah, the
Little one.
biggest one.
Oh yes,
The biggest one. Alpha Zone.
download us on iTunes now, for
Yeah.
the love of God. Don't
Yeah.
download us on Mixcloud anymore. I love Mixcloud; they're great people, but we want you downloading us on iTunes, please.
Oh man,
pretty please.
And so now I can do the cool iTunes plug. So like, subscribe, leave comments on iTunes at Alpha Zone Gaming.
Review.
Yeah, review it.
Did my review go up yet? My review is pretty good.
Probably. Like, man, those guys are attractive. I'm like, I know. I'm well aware. If anybody wants to find me personally on any media platform, I'll just do PlayStation. On PlayStation, I'm Adonai, Adonai. If you want to follow me, like follow the Twitter, follow the Instagram, follow the Facebook, like, share, subscribe on iTunes. I haven't done this for some reason. I haven't done the outro like the way I wanted to in a long time, but this is a better time than many. We're guys from around the world that get together to talk about video games because we love them, and more so than ever, like we love you, the community, and we get together to do this because we love it. We love you, the support. We read every single comment that you leave or 5-star rating, and be open and honest with us of what you'd want to see like different or changed, or what you like, what you don't like, and we appreciate you. For the boys, Kent and Ronan, my name is Sean Malloy. You've been listening to the Alpha Zone Gaming Podcast for November 12th, 2017. We're out.